So, did you read my theory on Boswell missing that kick early in the game?
Oh, and that yeah,
Now, watching it from the perspective of somebody who has
And
Boswell
we're
on
live.
like all of my fantasy teams where I can, um, I was like, wow, that missed kick, and he never misses. That missed kick really changed the trajectory of the entire game because it just changed what the Steelers were available to do in terms of staying,
well yeah, and
staying within range
yeah.
all game long. Because in a game like that, it's more important to just like even if you're not available to take the lead right now. Like I thought Mike Tomlin played really conservatively and kicked a lot of field goals.
Yo, what up, Busy?
And
What's up?
and hey, what's up, dude? And would have kicked more had Boswell not missed that one. I felt like they went for it on a couple of fourth downs because they needed 6 instead of being able to take 3
Because
simply
Boswell
because they missed
kicking that rock
one
and
kick.
that cold
Yeah.
was too much for him. I could see that. He had a few, 2 or 3 though.
Just one.
Was
It was just one that he missed, but that one missed field goal made it so that they had to go for it a couple of times on fourth down, and also they had to go for 2. So he missed a PAT as well. So you take I think it was what was it, a 45-ish yard field goal or something like that he missed, or it wasn't 50, was it?
It was long, but not super long.
Right.
Yeah, so it was late 40s, early 50s.
Yeah. So there's the minus 1 point
Yeah.
for missing. There's the not getting the 4 points for hitting it. So instead of scoring the 7 points that he scored, that's 12 right there, and then you're off to the races because and then there's the PAT that he would have been able to kick because a field goal would have been like a PAT plus a field goal would have been enough to catch up later in the game. And so you're talking like 20 points instead of 7.
Right.
So that's a huge difference
Yeah, it's a
for
big margin,
fantasy
yeah.
football. And then also just the way that the game played out, the chances that the Steelers had to take on offense because they weren't able to just kick a field goal. It's crazy. It's crazy how that works out. Good morning, everybody. Just talking about my Chris Boswell theory from Thursday night and how his first missed field goal really changed the trajectory of the game, especially later in the game.
And I'm looking up some weather for you guys here because it's getting late in the year, and now
It's weather time, baby.
Yeah, weather's, as you can see on Thursday, weather is starting to matter.
I figured we would just talk about them as they came up.
As they came up,
Yeah, like if you've got a page open, that's great. But
right,
there's definitely a couple of them that I had my eye on. Like the one I'm most concerned about is the Tampa Bay New York game.
I was going to say, I just want to throw out a couple just so that we would think about them. Tampa Bay is one of them because 15-mile-an-hour winds.
That's fine.
That's what we're looking at.
Yeah, that's fine. Baker's got a great arm, so I'm not worried about it.
But what about Danny DeVito? Like,
I didn't think he was going to do much with no wind. Like I was still like, it's interesting because I think that he's a good chain mover. Mm-hmm. I think they're gonna be okay. And if Tyrone Tracy if they're able to score on the ground, I think that they might actually be better with DeVito than with Jones because it could be worse. You really can't be worse.
Right.
The list
he can scramble a
the
little
list
bit.
of people who've thrown more touchdowns at MetLife Stadium this year than Daniel Jones is kind of funny. It's like the rushing list for the Cowboys at AT&T Stadium. Derek Carr has as many touchdowns as the leading touchdown getter. Anyway, Baker gets Mike Evans back today, and he gets Mike Evans on a mission back today because Mike Evans has 7 games to pick up 665 yards to pick up his 11th consecutive 1,000-yard season. And it's important to him. So I don't know if he's going to get there or not, but I can guarantee you there are going to be at least a couple of monster Mike Evans games between now and the rest of the season. And I think this is going to be one of them. The Giants are just kind of cleaning house. They're figuring stuff out right now. I think that Tampa Bay is going to turn DeVito over a couple of times, and I think you're going to see a Mike Evans touchdown. I think you can start both running backs in that game.
All right. Well, we're not going to have to talk about that game.
Don't worry about the weather. I was like, are we already? I was just right before you said that. I was like, are we already in this game? And I was like, no. I'm kind of revealing a lot.
Just going on.
So we can. I guess we can just like start there. But
did we want to do quick homers or?
I don't, obviously.
All right. I mean, you don't have to. It's rough sledding for Dallas.
No, we should. Because there's interesting stuff going on for you guys for sure. Like you guys picked up a good win.
Yeah.
And a bad loss.
I feel like we squeaked out a win and then they squeaked out a win against us. It was just one of those things. Typical divisional games for us. One of my big takeaways was that Jameis Winston and the Browns are going to be a lot more dangerous here in the back half. Like they don't have much to play for, but they're going to get some wins. Jameis is.
Don't you just kind of feel like a new vibe going on? In Cleveland,
absolutely.
And like I'm telling you, man, I could definitely see him just becoming their quarterback for the next couple of years. Like they love Jameis.
If he plays well this year, I can see it happening because
if he has like a Flacco-ish,
they're hard to come by.
A Flacco-ish finish.
Why not give him a chance?
Yeah, and why you don't really want to kick the tires on anything that's out there, in free agency.
Who was the quarterback before him?
Deshaun Watson.
Voldemort.
Yes. He who shall not be named.
Yes. Deshaun Watson, the very high-priced quarterback who has done nothing except rack up more and more sex allegations against him.
Jeez.
So, yeah. And now he's hurt for the year and may or may not come back.
He's not coming. There's a lot of money that they would have to pay to walk away from him because they completely guaranteed his contract.
Yep.
That was fucking silly.
Yeah, it was one of the sillier decisions that a franchise has made in recent memory.
It'd be hard to find a worse one.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, I could definitely see that happening.
Just to let you know.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll check that out in just a minute. Mr. Ray over here had some issues with our fantasy football app and ended up getting stuck with Russell Wilson as his quarterback on Thursday night when he's got Geno Smith and Patrick Mahomes on the bench. So obviously that was a mistake. I saw that on Friday morning. I was like, why would he do that? And I should have. I wish I'd asked you right then so that there's no issues in the league, but they can suck it. So
the thing about it is it's so like woven in certain ways, like you can't make moves, you can't pick up players till like Wednesday, and then you can't.
Well, you don't always know because it'll be a player that's sitting on your IR, which is at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah,
and you're like trying to make a move, and you don't know why, and it doesn't always just like tell you. Like there's sometimes where it's just like you'll go to make the move, and it's like error. Well, what's the error for? And you don't see the notification on the screen. Because that's back at the top of the screen now. You have to scroll back up at the top to see, anything that's going on with your team.
So I was,
and then you have to handle that first, and not everybody even, and that's not even clear. It just tells you that you're one over. It doesn't say that your roster is locked until you drop somebody. It just says that you're one person over, and then you're not able to do a bunch of the things that you're normally able to do. That's something I wish they would fix, is just like clarify when,
make it a little bit better.
Yeah, make it more obvious when someone like just put it like rather than have that stupid red text at the top, just put a notification up right. Hey, your roster is currently locked because you know. Yada yada yada. However you want to word it,
The thing is like I'm pretty sure last year I was able to still juggle like that.
No, it's been like that.
Has it?
Yeah. It's been like if you have, so it's just a matter. What happens is if you still have open roster slots. So like what may have happened was like your roster wasn't full, and regardless of having the IR guy or not, but if your roster is full and then a guy comes off of IR, you now have an illegal roster because it has too many players on it. Mm-hmm. And that's what causes it to lock up and not be able to do anything until you drop somebody or put somebody in a proper IR spot if they're eligible for it.
Last year I felt like I could still move people around. I just couldn't pick up players off the wire. That's how I remember learning it. And so For it to just completely lock out like that, like I was just kind of like, what the fuck's going on? And I was trying to do, and I was even trying to drop players too, and it was just like, it wasn't letting me drop like the right ones. It was weird. So like the whole Russell Wilson thing, I would have dropped that dude last week. You guys convinced me to play him, and so I was like, all right, fuck it, I'll play him. You know, and I would have been pissed if it would have made a difference, but it didn't really make a difference last week. But more mad at me than anyone else. Like, I shouldn't have listened to those fucking guys. I should have dropped him. You know, but after that game was done, I was ready to drop him, and it just wasn't like, it just wasn't. I don't know. It was weird, and I was just like, what the fuck? And then like, yeah, everything else is personal problems. Just, but if we wanted to talk about the Rams, I know we talked a lot already, but we're still in the hunt. We're looking for Arizona to take a loss from the Seahawks today.
And what's your record right now?
We're all like 5-5, I think.
Oh, okay.
Except for the Cardinals, who are like 6-5 or something like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so
Got a battle for the end of the year.
So are
it's going to be end of year battle. Yeah.
You wanted Bateman to still be on your roster?
Yeah, I still want Bateman.
Okay.
Bold statement.
There's really nobody else out there.
He's hit or miss.
There's really nobody else out there, and I'd like him there in case somebody got injured.
And the Steelers, like I said, we're still in first place. You know, we took that shot in the snow there on Thursday that really stung. 19-18 going into the final couple of minutes. You know, we have one of the best defenses in the NFL and a snowstorm on our side, and we can't stop Jameis Winston. It was crazy. Quite disappointing, but you know, good game, divisional game. It happens. We just gotta get some wins after that, so we'll be all right. We'll be all right. But
yeah, I was. So I guess I mean I was keeping a closer eye on that because I think I picked Pittsburgh both times. So that Cleveland thing snuck by. So you know, with that, it looks like our games here this week are not as heavy. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, Ray chokes it out over there.
I don't even know what that snuck up on me.
Yeah, we've got three
So what is that like?
I don't know. That's
an interpretation of the Rams season.
Yeah, a little bit, huh? But with that, we should probably get into the games. Last week's pick'em scores. I called a lot of good lone wolves, and then you got one lone wolf that helped bring your score up, and that was the Thursday night game.
Jesus, dude. Yeah, it was bad. Well, there was a lot of close games last week too, and a lot of head scratchers, like in terms of
every week
scores.
really.
But that threw me over. I'm currently leading you two, which is crazy.
Yeah,
right?
I thought you might be.
And then the DraftKings scores. We'll get into that when we get into the DraftKings stuff. But first up,
How far ahead? Like how bad was the week for me?
you got 7. I got 10.
All right.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I knew it was a bad week for me.
Which gave like a 3-game gap. So I'm up by 3 now. It's the way those things fucking work, huh? All right. So anything can happen. Detroit Lions versus Indianapolis Colts. Detroit's -7.5. The over-under is 50.5. This is where I'm curious where the weather is at. -395 if you're betting on the Lions, and +310 if you're betting on the Colts, huh?
They're indoors.
Yep.
They're indoors, so they're in Detroit.
No, both.
Both of them have indoors now.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Lucas Oil Stadium, baby.
Yep.
Um,
I don't know, man. Like that. It almost seems like there should be more points. Detroit is playing so damn good.
Well, I look at that like
by
I don't know.
themselves.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
like 7.5
You
doesn't
talking
seem
about
like
spread.
enough. It seems like it should be a 10.5 spread. Like Detroit is
I
playing.
think it's
so
based
great.
on the fact that Anthony Richardson played well. last
Finally
week.
did something. but-
Yeah, if he hadn't played as well last week, that would probably be more like 10.5. But yeah, it's interesting that this one's 10. This one's 7, and like the Cowboys Commander game is like 10.5 or something like that. That spread doesn't make sense to me. That's a bad spread. There's
Which one?
the Commanders Dallas one.
What's the spread?
10.5.
10.5 Commanders. Okay.
Yes.
You think that's not enough?
No, I think it's way too much.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, just out of curiosity, when does your change go live? Did you do it already, or did you just make a comment?
I'm doing it right now.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. I'm curious to see what it looks like on my end. That's why I asked.
So if I was like, you know, choosing a game to bet with a bookie, this would probably be one of my games right here. This would be a 3-star game for me. I'd want to put a little money on the Lions here.
With the points?
Yeah, with the points for sure. Like these guys are rolling. The offense looks amazing. You can start any of those pieces. You can start any of them. And honestly, I mean, to have 2 running backs that are both top 12 is just crazy. But they do it every week. You can start all those guys with confidence. Basically, the questions are on the Indy side. And do you want to start any of those receivers with Anthony Richardson at quarterback? My quick answer would be probably not. I mean, you might have to. There might be situations where you're just looking for value, where there's so many buys this week that you need something. But God, that would not be my first place to look right there. I think Anthony Richardson is going to look bad against this defense, but we shall see.
Wow, we finished the game before the freaking 9 o'clock hour. We're all going Lions, right?
Yeah. I sure am.
Oh yeah. Like I said, I think the spread should be bigger on this one. Yeah. I don't think Anthony Richardson is going to play nearly as well today as he did against the hapless Jets.
That's another one.
So, yeah, I think it's really similar to last week. I think the Lions are a team on a mission, and I think they're going to continue to keep it rolling. I don't see why they wouldn't. They're not a team that has, like, even in the game where Goff was turned over, 6 times. I think it was 5 interceptions. 5 interceptions. I think there was a fumble too.
Oh,
the coach is winning me over. I think that coach is like a no nonsense coach.
I like Dan Campbell a lot,
and he cares.
And
so there's both. Like, he's no nonsense, but he also cares about the outcome.
I feel
like it's more than just a job.
And he likes running up the score, which makes it.
Who his mentors
are, right?
People
happy.
his most recent coaching mentor was Sean Payton, who loves to run up the score.
Right.
And the person he learned from originally is Parcells. So he's a Parcells Payton tree guy.
Stop me.
Yeah. How do you not love that?
Right.
That's the best.
I've said it on this podcast too. I've always felt like you're not safe until you're like 3 scores up. Yeah. So why aren't you trying to get 3 scores up?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
just
even then, it better be in the fourth quarter. You know what I mean?
Because they better be down to, like, there's time for 1 possession. Because I'm not giving it. I'm not stopping until you, like, if you start taking guys out, I'll start taking guys out.
Exactly.
But if you still got all your starters in, I'm going to keep playing you as though as though it's 1 score. Like, don't look at the scoreboard.
You've seen these crazy games the last couple of years. There's always been 1 or 2 games. It's just like, oh my God, how'd that team come back from 3 scores down in the fourth quarter? Mm-hmm. It just happens.
I just watched a little highlight video yesterday that was Eli Manning leading a comeback against the Panthers when it was Cam Newton's Panthers, and the Panthers were up 35-7. Like 3 minutes to go in the third quarter, something like that, and they're all like celebrating on the sideline. Cam Newton's doing his thing, and then you just see Manning leading touchdown drives. That's the rest of the highlights are just the touchdown plays, and just chunk of time. Now they're down by 7 less. Chunk of time. Now they're down by 7 less. And just chunking away at touchdowns. Eli Manning was so good. he was so annoyingly good.
Annoyingly good is a good way to put it.
Well, yeah, because I'm a Cowboys fan, and you'd watch him have these games throughout the season that were just complete stinkers, and then he'd play against the Cowboys and just play lights out.
Right. And fantasy wise, you could never rely on him. You know what I mean? He was always a middle of the road guy, and so you know what I mean.
That's the big. Honestly, that's the biggest reason that he's like a borderline Hall of Famer.
Right.
To me, he's not a borderline.
Because I couldn't start him. Like, I couldn't start him on my fantasy team.
Eli Manning.
Who cares?
Like, you tell me that I get to pick 1 quarterback, right? To win a football game, and I pick my guy. I'm super excited, and then you pick Eli Manning. I'm a little nervous. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, because anything could happen with that guy.
He's got a rep, that's for sure.
Anything could happen with that guy. Some of the most ridiculous plays in my football memory involve Eli Manning. But anyway,
what game were we on?
We were.
That was the first one. Detroit Lions versus the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah. So yeah, we talked about all kinds of stuff.
we're
in there.
good.
But one big thing: no Michael Pittman. So we get another game with more Adonai Mitchell. Yay! All right, for
still don't start him.
my 80 Mitchell fans. No, but you can start Downs. I would still start Downs.
You'd try not to, though, right?
No, absolutely not. He's completely. Dude, are you kidding? He's quarterback proof. If you're not aware of if for anybody who's not aware of what Josh Downs is doing, start paying attention because Josh Downs is awesome. He is the dude. Like he is the only thing that scares me about the future of AD Mitchell is just how good Josh Downs is. And then that's it. Like so, start your Lions again. It's just like last week, in my opinion, and it worked out. We talked about it here. Like we were hoping that certain players would score amongst the first 4 or 5 touchdowns they scored, and they did. And then the Lions just kept it rolling. It was a great day. Go Lions!
Yeah. Next up, we have Kansas City Chiefs versus Carolina Panthers. Here's a good spread for the spread you guys are looking for. -11. Over-under is 43, which means Kansas City is projected to just do all the scoring. -700 if you're betting on the Chiefs, and +500 if you're betting on the Panthers.
Yeah, snoozer of a game. I mean, the spread tells the story there. Maybe the Kansas City Chiefs options are a little bit more reliable this week because they're going to do some scoring, before they salt the game away.
The best news we got about this game was that Isaiah Pacheco is not going to play, and
That's true.
And that means you get a full workload out of Kareem Hunt again.
Right, because otherwise we would have been like, oh, what do we do?
I'd have been I'd have been on the fence for starting either of them. To be honest with you,
agreed.
But I do like Mahomes in this game. They're
throwing to who? That's the big question.
That's why I say I like Mahomes in this game. I don't like any of his receivers really, and that includes Kelsey. If you had an opportunity to sell high on Kelsey at any point this season, I hope you took it because it does not look good for old Gil.
He had a nice little run there, and then
but they're able to make plays, and they've got guys, Hopkins when they need him. It can still make plays in the end zone. They're drawing up plays for Xavier Worthy in the red zone, and they've still got Mecole Hardman.
I am surprised.
Mahomes off of a loss is the biggest
illustrious list of receivers you just named off. I'm surprised that D-Hop is not getting a little bit more action.
Well,
than what he has been the last couple of games.
It's just not getting talked about enough. Like the guy has knee problems. The guy's going to have knee surgery as soon as his season is over. And so he's not somebody you want to count on. If you expect the Chiefs to have to score points, so like I would have started him last week against Buffalo. But if you expect him to have to score points, he's a good play. If you expect the Chiefs to just roll whoever they're playing, and be able to run the football
like this week,
I don't want to play him.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't think he can really be started right now.
Not with confidence. He's very he's a low floor flex.
Yes, I agree. Unfortunately, but I agree.
And then on the other side,
is there anything to talk about on the other
yes,
side?
Yes, it's Jonathan Brooks Day. It's finally here.
Hey.
We finally get to see the best running back in the 2024 class
on a limited basis.
Yeah. Well, they say that he's not going to be on a pitch count. He was due to the injury to Miles Sanders. I'm imagining someone was smart enough to ask Canales this week, "Hey, if Chuba was to sustain an injury, would Brooks be on a pitch count?" And he said no.
Okay.
And they took their time with him. They waited and waited and waited and waited, and it was the very
and they also paid Chuba in the meantime.
And they did. Right.
So even when he comes in, is he a 50-50 split? Like, what are they trying to do with this?
I think it's very Jahmyr Gibbs-ish. And once
they see what Detroit's doing and like it.
Once he gets acclimated, well, I think it's going to be similar. But the thing is that first of all, Chuba Hubbard is not David Montgomery. They're not the same, at all. And for everybody who's like Chuba's looked really good, he's had some giant holes to run through, and there have been a handful of plays this season where I guarantee you Jonathan Brooks would have scored, where Chuba just gets run down. Or you know, he gets caught. He gets caught by linebackers. He's just not fast. He's a solid running back. He's just not fast. And I don't think he's powerful. So I don't like the pairing anywhere near as much as Montgomery and Gibbs.
Right.
But the Brooks, you know, being the Gibbs side of it, I do. I do like Jonathan Brooks every bit as much as I like Jahmyr Gibbs.
I will say, I want to say it was either last week or the week before we were talking about this a little bit, and so we were actually watching one of the games with Panthers, and so I was watching Chuba Hubbard, and I saw him turn the corner on a couple of runs. I was just like, man, he looks better than I thought.
He does look better.
Just as a counterpoint, I mean, I was just like, man, he looks good.
Two things can be true at the same time.
I'm just saying, he is
better than I thought,
to be a major part of that
still
offense. Yeah,
not elite. Like
that's fair. That's fair.
I don't. That's the thing is I just don't think he's an elite.
And Montgomery
talent.
wasn't elite until he got to Detroit. You know,
there were markers
he
there.
Was okay.
There were definitely markers there, and he didn't really have much of an opportunity in Chicago. He never got the opportunity to really be the guy. And the one year that he did, he was the number 4 running back overall in fantasy. The one year that he did in 2020.
Yeah,
I was one of the worst trades I've ever made. Yes, trust me, I will not forget it. He finished number 4 overall in 2020 in Chicago. David Montgomery is a beast, and like when I think of him now, it's hard not to think of that play where on Monday Night Football against Seattle, where he catches the little dump off pass, and the defender is right there after he turns around and he just trucks him.
Yeah,
like
no, he's done a few
and then runs for 40 yards afterwards.
Yeah, no, he's had a few plays like
I
that.
lost my match on that play. I was still in contention until that play happened. And
then he needs a breather after that play, and they bring in Jahmyr Gibbs. And
yeah,
I mean, as a defense, what do you do? Oh my god!
Yeah, and they so I could see why they would try and rebuild that, you know.
Yeah.
And like, oh hey, we have a similar thing going on here. We've got 2 really good running backs, and Sion Hubbard. That makes some sense. I don't think he's anywhere close to the talent that David Montgomery is.
All right,
Jonathan Brooks, yes, super excited to watch him play. Over the last 2 weeks, Bryce Young has more wins than Patrick Mahomes.
Just shows how you can manipulate stats.
Right? They'll tell you any story you want to hear. Bryce Young's playing better, though. He's playing better football.
Playing better. That is for sure.
His weapons look good. I really like Jatavian Sanders today. The Chiefs are like the worst team in the league against tight ends. The Panthers are going to have to throw the football. I think Jatavian Sanders is a really good start in DFS today. And like if you're struggling at tight end, you know there's a lot of bias.
Sneaky little play.
There's no Taysom Hill. There's no Kyle Pitts. There's no Evan Ingram. There's we're down a lot of guys this week. So. Like you were talking on the way over in his guillotine league, one of his remaining opponents has a empty roster spot that he has to start this week because he doesn't have a tight end. Jatavian Sanders is somebody you can turn to for sure.
Right on.
And that's it.
Yeah, that's all we need to talk about.
And we all went KC, right?
Yes.
I mean, I want to see more Xavier Legette, but I want to see Brooks first.
Next up is Tampa Bay Buccaneers -6.5 against the Giants. -6.5. Over under is 40.5. -298 if you're betting on the Bucks, and +240 if you're betting on the Giants.
Okay, a lot to talk about here. Let's start with the weather, just so we don't forget. It is 15-mile-an-hour winds.
That's right on the edge.
Yeah, that's like kind of the magic number right there, where it starts to affect the game a little bit. So it shouldn't be over the top, but it's definitely going to.
I think it's going to affect DeVito.
And then that's the other thing is Daniel Jones is not playing. He got dropped. He got cut.
He requested it.
Yeah.
Well, they requested the release. It was a mutual thing. So.
For sure. But Danny. Well, I keep calling him Danny DeVito. What's his actual name? Doesn't matter.
It's Tommy.
Tommy DeVito.
It's Danny Tommy DeVito.
I can only think Danny DeVito. But anyway, like that, him starting, that's a big thing. Like last year, I remember he was okay. I remember there was like 2 games where he played surprisingly well, and there was like a kind of a ooh in New York about Tommy Cutlets, and then reality smashed down. So Tampa Bay's defense is in shambles. They are the worst against the pass. He does have Malik Neighbors, which looks like he's playing today. So I mean, can DeVito do a little something? I mean, what's your opinion there?
I think that volume-wise, Malik Neighbors is still going to be a good play.
Yeah, it's. I mean, you can't really leave Neighbors out of your
Right.
lineup. I mean, you'd have to have one hell.
But
of a
I'm not.
lineup,
I'm not expecting him to have a monster game today.
Okay.
I actually like that Tampa Bay defense is getting healthier, and they're coming off of their bye, so they're actually one of the defenses that I like, to get you through the home stretch. If you're, if you need a defense, you don't have like one of the top 3 defenses. If you haven't been riding the Steelers all year long,
Who's their big cornerback that they're missing right now, though? So their big hole in their defense is that Steen?
You're talking about. I'd have to look. I'm sorry. They're veterans. There's a bunch of guys that have been there for a while, but I can't remember. I don't. Let me look that up and get back to you. But I know they've been getting guys back, and like Vita Vea is really the important part. They've got Cansey, and then they have another rookie defensive lineman who just played for the first time before they went on bye. So they're getting some pieces back. I expect them to cover the 6.5 points in this game. Mike Evans is back. Those running backs have been excellent. Like Baker Mayfield was able to move the ball and produce points against the 49ers with essentially nobody. They almost beat Kansas City with essentially nobody. This is a good football team.
Sorry, Ray, what was the over-under on this game?
Tampa Bay Bucks is 40.5.
40? 40?
The over-under?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's low.
40.5.
It's low.
That seems really low.
I think it's more on Tommy DeVito.
I agree, but like I say, with that defense as beat up as it is, and New York really has some weapons. They between Neighbors, Wan'Dale Robinson, and Tracy coming on in the running back position. I think they're going to be able to move the ball and score some points. I mean, do you really think this is a 24-7 blowout?
I think this is like a 24-13 game.
Really?
Yeah. So the 40. I would bet the Bucks to cover, and bet the under.
Wow. See, my feeling is the over on this one. Do you want to make this one our hat bet of the week? Over under 40.5?
Ooh, no.
Oh, come on! I want this one bad. I feel good about this one.
No. I mean, I want it to happen. I don't want to be
Right.
bet. I don't want to
bet against your interest.
Yes.
I understand. But I feel good about this one. I would take the over on this one. This would be a 2-star bet. I don't know. It feels good.
Let's see here. It was Jamel Dean who was injured, but he was a full participant in practice this week. So I think he's going to be fine. Okay. Their biggest injury was Tristan Wirfs, but he also practiced. Tyreek Smith is a young safety, and he's doubtful. But I think that the rest of their guys are going to go. So Tampa Bay is getting healthy at the right time. Mike Evans is a huge shot in the arm, not just because of what he's going to be able to do, but him taking pressure off of the other young guys.
For sure.
I'm really curious to see
what does Cade Otton become now that he's not the main target? You know what I mean?
I think it helps him.
You think it helps him?
I think it helps him. Like I think if you were talking in giving him Evans and Godwin back,
now Cade Otton. Cade Otton
but
takes a big step
but
back.
He looks for Cade Otton when he gets in trouble. That is definitely his security blanket. Like
I wonder if that's going to be
Evans is the
next year.
weapon
We'll see.
that he'll and what I love about Baker is he's one of those guys that will throw the ball up and give a guy a chance. And Evans is one of the best 50-50 guys of all time. So I expect to see that today at some point. Mike Evans touchdown. Like I do 100% expect Mike Evans to score today.
I expect there to be a lot of scoring on the Tampa side. Honestly, you were saying 24. I think it's going to be more like 31, 34
they're
to like 21.
They're not a big play
game.
offense.
I mean,
they're a methodical offense, and they do have a tendency to like bog down as they get into the red zone. So I could see them getting stopped and kicking a couple of field goals today, and just also playing ball control
safe,
offense. Yeah. Especially with the wind, not wanting to take too many chances. So what I was going to say is that Jalen McMillan should be fully healthy too. He's the rookie receiver he's the other receiver from Washington that we didn't really talk about too much. There was a Doomsday.
Well, he hasn't been
and Jalen
anything
Polk.
to talk about much.
Oh no,
so far.
Right away when Chris Godwin got hurt, the next 2 games McMillan had 8 targets and 7 targets, and then he got hurt, and he didn't.
But he didn't do much with those targets, if I remember right.
PPR, he was good. If I remember correctly,
He was serviceable or he was good.
Well, I mean, you're talking Chris Godwin. If Chris Godwin doesn't score, so how do you feel about that? Godwin is like a 6 for 60.
I was going to say 5 for 50, but fair enough.
6 for 65 guy. And Chris Godwin is definitely a starter. Like
Yeah,
let's look
but that's
this
what I'm
up,
saying.
actually.
If he's getting a 5 for 40,
Chris Godwin is still the wide receiver 15 on the season, by the way.
That's a good run.
He was having a fantastic season. My half PPR dynasty team misses him dearly. Jalen McMillan in the 2 games following. Oh, come on. Oh, damn it. It's loading. It's loading.
Did you will Russell Wilson, how many bench spots are we on in our league?
6. So I think it's 6. So
yeah, it looks like 6. So Russell Wilson's still showing up on my bench.
That's because
he just fall off automatically.
It also says off roster if you look at it.
Oh, it does.
He had the first game was not nearly as good, 3 for 15. The second game was okay, 4 for 35. But he also has they gave him the ball on a carry in each of those games.
So like I say, he had the targets. He's got some speed. Part of the offense, but he didn't do much with it.
Somebody I'm
somebody to watch.
He's
still.
somebody to watch. Definitely
not start.
And not today. No, not today. But you definitely want to be watching because their schedule for the rest of the season is insane. Absolutely insane. The worst the worst matchup on their schedule remaining is a home matchup with the Raiders. They have the Giants, then they have Carolina, Vegas. The Chargers is kind of.
I was going to say that's a tough one.
Hasn't been as much recently. Teams have been able to throw on them lately, and then they get. So this is their playoff schedule: at the Chargers, at Dallas, home to Carolina.
Sounds nice.
They have one of the best schedules remaining of any team. So like you want the Baker Mayfield is definitely having the best season of his career. He's playing lights out football like that. I don't know if you saw the game they played before they went on bye against the 49ers and the play where he stiff-armed Fred Warner.
Oh yeah.
One of the best plays I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, like, he has some really good plays this year and last year.
That
like
was
he's
incredible.
playing. Like I keep using this word for him, and I know you hate it, but he's scrappy, man. Like, it's just.
The only reason I don't like using that term is because it's almost a derogative term. Because
it's like grudging respect.
Because you typically use it when you don't have anything nicer to say about a player, and Baker Mayfield has so many good qualities to me. I feel like he has become an excellent processor of information. Mm-hmm. My knock on Baker Mayfield when he was younger in his career was that he couldn't go left. Just couldn't go left. If the play broke down, he was going to roll to the right, and he was going to look right and throw right. Most of his action was going to throw right. Real quick aside, somebody who history loves and actually never figured out how to throw to the other side of the field effectively, Steve Young. Most of his damage was to the left side of the field. Anyway,
and other teams just never caught on to that, or
no, I guess not. Like he played in an era with no analytics. So, like, I think if Steve Young was a quarterback, he'd have some struggling times because teams would shut down that side of the field and force him to go right. But yeah, anyway, Baker is now a quarterback who attacks all areas of the field. Like, if you make a mistake, he will beat you.
Yeah.
And he has the arm talent. He is a top 5 arm talent guy in the league for sure. and despite being 6 foot and 210 pounds or whatever it is.
All right. So, I mean, basically what we're saying is Tampa rolls, and
I think Tampa rolls in this game. I think we're talking
just a matter of what
27 to
DeVito can
10,
do to how
27 to
close he can
13,
keep it.
something
Yeah.
like that. I think it's going to be close to that over-under, but I'm leaning towards the under just because I don't think the Giants are going to force them to score.
All right.
I think the Giants are going to struggle.
I mean, they're going to struggle. It's just, can they get a little something going? I think they'll be able to do just enough to make the Bucs score. You know what I mean?
In the first half, maybe.
You mean they're not going to do enough?
Go
so
Bucs.
the
Go
Bucs
Bucs.
can
No,
score?
like they're going to do like the Giants are going to put just enough points on the
He
board
thinks
where Tampa needs to keep scoring to make sure
That it
they're-
goes to the over. He's betting the over. I'm betting the under. And I want, but let's be clear. I want the over. I want it. I have Tyrone Tracy everywhere. I have, so I want it to happen.
Yeah, that'd be like a 31-10 game right there.
Yeah. Well, with the
I don't think the Giants are scoring
with the
more than 10.
spread. It's more expecting that we're getting like a 24-18, 25-7.
Yeah, no, I don't think Giants are scoring more than 10.
I don't think so either.
34-20 is like the number in my head. That's what I'm thinking. But.
I get
It's gonna be
that.
like 23-10.
I just don't think that. I would just be surprised if DeVito is able to attack them.
See, now you guys are both going under
Successfully
on me,
through there.
like emphatically. Like, come on, we got to have a bet on this
I
one
can't
somehow.
do it. I have too much writing on Tracy scoring points and neighbors. Like I can't do it. Like
All right.
I want the Giants to score because I'm not doing that.
Okay, moving on. What do we got next?
The best game of the
Wait,
day,
you guys all went Bucks, right?
we went
Yes.
Bucks. So far there is no dissension in the picks.
Well, so I would like preemptively fill that out. Like sometimes, you know what I mean? But every time I do, Ken goes, well, after I said all that, I'm going over here. So like I've kind of like slowed down on filling
I do that on
stuff out.
purpose. I can see him working.
Dallas
Like my picks
Cowboys.
would
gonna
probably
get
be
him this
better if
time.
I couldn't see your screen.
Maybe if you would have went with all the picks, you wouldn't be so far behind.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying right now.
Dallas Cowboys versus Washington Commanders. Cowboys are 10.5 plus 10.5. Over unders 45. Honestly, think that's a little high. Plus
I think it's low.
455 if you're betting on the Cowboys. Minus 625 if you're betting on the Commanders. No, you know what? That might be right. I guess they're saying this is more the plus 10 thing though. That's
So the thing is
that means that they're expecting the Commanders to blow them out. That's the way I see it.
right. And the way the Commanders are playing lately, I just don't see that. I don't see them blowing.
Well, but who have they played lately that they slowed down against? They slowed down against the Steelers and then Philly, right? I mean, two of the best defenses in the NFL. So, I mean, yes, they did get slowed down. They did lose 2 in a row, but they also lost 2 in a row against 2 serious playoff teams and serious defenses. So, you know, coming back against the still wounded Cowboys defense, am I right? Or did they get everybody back?
So Jaden Daniels hasn't played a particularly good game since the Baltimore game back in Week 6. And they have struggled on offense, you know, since then. I don't think they've scored 30 points since that Baltimore game. I don't remember if they scored 30 points in that game or not either. But he hasn't been nearly as efficient as he was at the beginning of the season. Listen to these passing yardage totals over the last 3 weeks: 209, 202, 191. And he has only 3 touchdowns over the last 3 weeks, and and only 1 over the last 2 weeks. So,
and I'm saying the last 2 weeks he played 2 of the best defenses in the NFL. We have to
That's
allow
true.
for that in the stats as well.
That's true, but he also, you know, yeah.
I'm just saying you got to weigh that in. You keep saying best last 2-3 weeks. It's like, yeah, he had the 2 of the roughest defenses the last 2 weeks. I guess I'm being a little bit more generous toward Daniels, and I think he comes back here. But again, the Dallas defense, how banged up are they still?
No Trayvon Diggs today.
Okay,
He didn't make the trip.
that's big.
Yeah, it's so
Okay,
I like McLaurin a little better than I
Yeah.
would have. Diggs has done a really good job of shutting down McLaurin since he got to Dallas.
Sounds like I keep wanting to say the Redskins. The Commanders are
So
gonna
the
move the
Cowboys-
ball.
I don't think Tank Lawrence is back yet. That's something I want to check on right now.
And who's tank?
DeMarcus Lawrence.
Oh. It's like, wait. But anyway, I don't know, man. I like the Washington Commanders here. Dallas, Cooper Rush, and you still got to start CeeDee Lamb. He's probably going to be all that Cooper throws to, or at least the major target. But that can be good and bad. I don't expect a major game out of CeeDee. I expect a serviceable game out of CeeDee. I keep talking about my guillotine league because it's so much fun, but in that league, I purposely dropped CeeDee because I thought that's kind of a bomb, to drop on somebody else. Somebody else is going to pick him up and start him, and the person that picked him up spent way too much fab on him. So we'll see if that works out for me or not. But and then you can't start a Dallas running back. So
so I would have, but the Cowboys are also without Zach Martin today. So, like, it's interesting. Like, if those guys were playing, I'd be picking the Cowboys to win this game. Like, if Diggs and Zach Martin were both available today, I would be picking the Cowboys to win this game because the Commanders don't rush the passer very well, and the problem that Cooper Rush has right now is he's just a tick slow. He's just a little bit too slow. And so playing against a team that doesn't rush the passer well bodes well for him. And actually, we checked CeeDee Lamb. It was trending. CeeDee Lamb was trending towards not playing today.
Really?
As of Friday.
Doesn't have an injury designation. Does not carry an injury designation. Yeah, he's good.
Okay. Yeah, his shoulder, he practiced limited on Wednesday and then didn't practice Thursday or Friday. So I don't know if it was just like, I'm going to be good to go. Let's just rest it. It was They were kind of unclear.
And they're going to be super careful with all their stars for the rest of this year.
Right.
You injured your pinky toe? You need to sit out this week.
Let's
Take a week or two off.
But it's funny because Micah Parsons came out this week and he's like, he still believes in the team. And so
it's good leadership. Go for it.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm still just not a believer in the Commanders. Like,
understandable. I mean,
what they're doing, it really does. It's funny. I told you, it was either last week or the week before, I mentioned the statistics between Robert Griffin III and Jaden Daniels in their first 9 or 10 starts or whatever it was, and how they were almost identical. And if you remember when RG3 came around, he kind of took the league over. We didn't know what was going on. All of a sudden, the Redskins are good again. What are we going to do? How's the league going to stop RG3? And then they kind of did, because the way that they were beating people was with the RPO. Yep. If you remember, over and over and over again. This version of the Commanders is doing similar things. Like Jaden Reed has two reads, and then he takes off. And it's like there might be one deep read, and then a shallow read, and then he takes off. Doesn't even spend time back there in the pocket looking around. Like he's
your rookie though. I mean, that's what you want him to do. That's
all
awesome.
I'm saying, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. All I'm saying is it's limited.
Fair. And
as the season goes on, it has gone on. Teams have gotten better at defending them. So unless the Commanders are willing to kind of unleash Jaden Daniels a little more and attack on the ground with him, I think they're going to start to struggle to score points now that there's plenty of tape on Jaden, on what they're doing. And if you are able to corral their running backs like the Eagles did,
which have both been looking really good.
They've both been successful, and for different. And it's funny because we say looking really good, and
Eckler
has looked pretty good. Eckler has looked much better than he did the last 2 years. That's for sure.
Robinson,
Brian
I've seen
Robinson,
him trucking people. Man.
He does, but that's what he does.
Exactly.
He's a big dude. He's
good at
like
what he
6'1", 225 or something like that.
Yeah.
He's a big boy.
And he gets in the end zone.
But he's not. And he's a good tool to have when you get inside the 5.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. But I just think they're going to struggle to continue to be successful with their offense the way that it's been working.
Including this week? Starting next week?
Including this week. The Cowboys will win today.
Hey, there he goes. Good job. I'll take the Commanders, please.
And then you're taking the Commanders too?
No, he said he's taking Dallas. He's taking a stand here. He talked himself into it.
You know,
I just believe too much in Micah Parsons. You know,
I was gonna bring this up like last week as like the whole honor bound thing. I had this thought after the fact, and it was like, well, if you've given up on your team, you've given up on your team, right? Like, because you said they gave up on you, kind of thing, right? And I was like, okay, so you walked me into that whole thought process, and I was okay with it. Like, I was like, at the end of that, I was okay with it. But if your team truly gave up on you, then they're not winning. They're not winning at all, right? So you would then like pick against them the rest of the way because
that's what you want to happen.
Because that's what you think they're doing, right? Yeah. And then you go and do this.
It's a division opponent. It's like there's
that right there was enough. It's a divisional opponent. That right there is enough to caveat that.
It's amazing how much that matters.
It does.
Yeah, like that right there, that is enough to just like see the whole train of thought on that. Yeah, I could see like, fuck it, we gave up, but this is Washington or this is the Eagles. Like no, we got to play this team.
We got to beat them.
So I can see that. All right, next up we got Tennessee Titans versus Houston Texans. +8 on the Titans. Jeez. Over under is 40.5. +330. -425 if you're betting on the Texans. Now, my understanding of the Titans, and I could be way wrong on this, but I was actually talking to my wife about this not too long, is the Oilers became the Titans, right? Like they relocated,
correct. They were the Tennessee Oilers for a season or two.
Okay. And then Texans was just an expansion team, right?
Yes.
Correct. Gotcha.
2002. Replaced the Oilers.
Okay. Yeah. So that was my only thought on that.
Sorry, and my outburst during your while you're reading out
sorry, real quick. It's really funny because when the Titans use their throwback uniforms, they wear the Houston Oilers uniforms.
Which is just weird.
It is weird. They should do it against the Texans.
Right? Why not?
I don't know why I brought that up.
They should do that against the Texans.
They're kind of connected in a way.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
But my outburst was because this is like, I think every game that we've picked so far has had at least a 7-point spread or a 6.5
somewhere
point spread.
Around there.
Like these are all blowout games that we're talking about, or at least should be or are on paper just huge favorites.
Oh yeah, the slate is not as good as it was last week.
Yeah, it is. It is a weird slate.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a lot of bias.
Yeah.
A lot of teams on bye.
6 teams on bye, and 6 teams that matter. You know what I mean? These are teams that we have.
And the Saints.
Hey, Kamara has been a very important piece to my team. Thank you very much.
Oh, I thought you meant in the scope of interesting football games.
Yes. Well, even the Saints they've had some weird games this year.
They've been either really good or really bad.
Exactly. Yeah.
So from a certain perspective, that's interesting. Texans.
Yeah, I'll take Texans for sure. What else do we say?
Will Levis has been playing better.
Mixon's great.
I don't think him and Bryce Young I think are both really starting to like maybe turn the corner a little bit, and I think that both of them are going to start again in the same spot next year.
Okay.
People are talking about like them being two of the teams that might have quarterback turnover next year. I don't think so. I think Will Levis and Bryce Young are both going to play well enough the rest of the season that.
I was going to say the next 6 or 7 weeks is totally going to determine that.
And
that's what those teams
I'm
are
more
looking
confident
at.
in Bryce Young having his spot locked in because of the pieces around him. He's got so many young, talented players around him. I really like
and
how
the
they drafted.
overall first round pick pedigree. I mean that's going to come into play. So But yeah, who are we talking about? Houston and
Tennessee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like we're
so
about ready to move on, though.
no Tajay Spears today, I believe.
Yeah. He's completely out. I'm still not excited to start Pollard.
No
there.
Spears.
I mean, you can start him. Don't get me wrong. You might have to, but
I would. I wouldn't even worry about it, honestly. Like, I think people are putting too much into it. This Houston defense isn't like anything to really worry about. And Pollard catches the ball. If Pollard was a guy that didn't catch the ball, I'd say okay. But Pollard is so talented that he can He's so talented that if he gets the ball,
so unimpressive the last year and a half.
I disagree with that. I disagree with that, and I think the numbers disagree with that too. He's RB22 on the season, and that's despite having missed some time from injury. Like the last two games,
honestly, that kind of describes him. Okay, running back 22. Yeah, that sounds about right. That's not great. It's not great, Bob. That's
no,
a guy that you maybe want as your third running back.
His schedule is insane the rest of the way. So after today, yes, Houston today, Washington, Jacksonville, Cincinnati, Indy, Jacksonville. That's the end of his season.
I love the Jacksonville's. The Cincinnati's defense has been getting
Indy.
No. They've been
Washington's been terrible against running backs.
Oh, Washington is the one I was thinking. Washington's been getting better. But anyway,
and that's what I'm hoping Dallas does today is that they run the football. It's going to be harder without Zach Martin.
Yeah, and a running back. But
Dowdle's not terrible. He had, it's
great, Bob.
What's funny is like you're talking down on Dowdle, and it's like if he hadn't dropped the ball like 4 times, I would have beaten you in our match last week. So it's funny that you're the one that
hadn't dropped the ball 4 times. That sums it up. I rest my case, sir.
It really didn't make any sense. He'd been so efficient with his targets all season long. And then let me make sure that I'm not just talking out of my butt right now. I don't think so. Yeah, he'd been so good with his targets, dude. Listen to this. 1 for 1, 4 for 5, 3 for 5, 1 for 1, 2 for 2, 5 for 6, 5 for 6, 3 for 3, 2 for 5. It's the only game this year where he hasn't caught more than 50% of his targets. So like if he had caught those 3 targets and gained something like 20, 25 yards, like there's a good, like just based on how it affected their ability to move the ball and their chances to score in the game, there's a good chance that I would have beaten you. So it's funny it's funny that you've got negative things to say about him. But like he's another one of these guys where it's like, first of all, he's the lead back. Second of all, his schedule is insane.
Okay.
He gets Washington today, the Giants, Cincinnati, at Carolina, Tampa Bay. And then the last one, and you sit him on week 17 at Philly. But but his first game
Rico
against
Dowdle,
Philly was
14
fine too.
Points.
Huh?
14-point line.
Yeah, I'll take it.
All right. Okay, that's the hat bet for next week.
No, 13 and a half.
I was going for 14 and a half.
13 and a half. That's a touchdown. He's got to score a touchdown for me to get that. Let me see. 13 and a half. He's hit 13 and a half points twice.
All right, I'll take it.
All right. 12 and a half he's done 3 times. So 13 and a half is a good number.
All right.
And he's only scored 3 touchdowns this season. But I think the Cowboys are going to be competitive today. Like based on everything that's coming out of Dallas, like there hasn't, like, it's interesting. There was actually like less turmoil this week than there has been lately. And that's a good sign. When you don't have if the wheels are completely falling. And here's the thing, is that I could say plenty of things that I don't like about Mike McCarthy. Mm-hmm. He's been in this position as a coach a lot.
That's true.
And he had Aaron Rodgers to help him, but there were plenty of times where we thought the Packers were done, and then they just made a run and made the playoffs.
True.
And I'm not saying that's going to happen. But the Cowboys are a talented football team. They're missing their quarterback, but they are a talented football team.
All right. So I'll take Houston.
We all picked Houston.
We were like, there was no reason to even like question this game. It wasn't anywhere close.
Are we almost out of the morning games?
Almost.
We have 2 more morning games.
Okay.
Next up is the New England Patriots versus the Dolphins. New England's plus 7.5. Over under is 45.5. Plus 285 if you're betting on the Patriots. Minus 360 if you're betting on the Dolphins.
Come on, Dolphins. Let's go.
Right? They have to put it together someday,
Come on,
right?
Tua. Like I started selling my Jalen Waddle shares. I'm out.
Waddle's tough.
I'm not even talking about redraft.
You're talking
I'm
dynasty.
talking about dynasty. Like I told you about that deal. I shipped him off and brought back Pearsall, and I'm super excited to have Pearsall. I don't care that he goosed me last week. I'm still super excited to have Pearsall.
Yeah,
because
Waddle's
of the way
rough.
that this offense has been playing.
You got to figure Achan or Hill. One of them's going to go off today, though. I mean, don't
Well,
you think?
I just expect Achan to go off all the time.
Yeah, I mean, he has been very consistent.
That guy
I must say, he's been good to watch.
He's fun to watch.
As long as Tua's in there.
the
As
second
soon as
coming
Tua's
of
out,
work
though,
done.
he sucked. You know what I mean? So Tua being in there, it's amazing how much that affected Achan as a running back.
Achan specifically, yes.
Yeah,
And
which shows what kind of a running back he is. He needs a little space, but man, when he gets it, he's great.
I think he's well. If you're not a Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb type of tackle breaker, let's put David Montgomery up there now too. If you're not like that kind of bruising running back that breaks tackles, I think you all need there to be a focus. The defense has to need to focus on the passing attack, at least some, for you to be successful. So I don't think that's necessarily a knock on him.
So is there anyone we start on Miami besides those two?
Because of
Maybe
I'm not. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to bring up, and I'm not as excited as other people are.
I'm not either.
About
That's why I
Jonnu
was kind of
Smith.
leaving him out.
I don't think he should be on the waiver wire anymore because if he continues to get more targets than Waddle, then he's someone you could start over Waddle
So
for
weird,
sure.
yeah.
It's crazy, but he's the one that's getting open right now.
Yeah.
When you see Tua throw a ball downfield to a guy that's wide open, it's Jonnu Smith every time right now. So I don't know if teams have just gotten better at taking away Tyreek Hill and Waddle, or if they're just not in sync yet because they haven't had enough time together. And this is a good situation for them at home against New England. This is
Get it together, yeah.
This is a situation where the Dolphins traditionally win. Like the New England's, even in the years where they were dominating the AFC East, they still struggled to win in Miami. So I expect them to roll today.
And that Miami defense has been playing better too.
And then
on the other side, you don't really want to start anybody. You can start Stevenson.
You have.
Stevenson.
I don't think you sit Ramondre Stevenson. Like he just gets too many
Hunter
touches.
Henry, I think you can start.
And I wouldn't start any of the receivers.
You're not trying to.
Like all the receivers
No,
now, none of the receivers have broken through that 6 target barrier.
You'd have to be
You've got
desperate.
3 guys. You got Douglas, Bourne, and Boutte, who
Yeah.
are all getting somewhere between 4 and 6 targets right now, and they could score. Any one of them could score on any given week, but the thing is that you just don't They could also do nothing.
Yeah,
all of them could do nothing. And so until the offense gets a little more consistent,
Stay away.
Yeah, just those 2 guys. I think Drake May is startable. It's like a Mahomes situation. You just don't want to start any of the receivers, but I think Drake May, because of his running ability, you're going to get somewhere between 3 and 5 points just from him.
Maybe in a 2 quarterback league you're looking at.
Drake May. If I'm not mistaken, Drake May is
Miami
a top 15
defense has
start.
been Miami defense has been picking it up at home. Yeah, I don't know. I'd have trouble start. You'd have to be pretty desperate to start me.
Over the last actually in games that he finishes, he averages more than 30 pass attempts per game, which is where you want to be. That's the number is 30, and he's 33, 37, 41. There was a down game against Chicago, 25. I'm not sure if he finished that game or not, and then 39 last week against the Rams. And his yardage totals are good, but the thing that he's doing is he's running the ball. His low mark in rushing in games that he started is 18 yards. So, and that's not nothing. He also has
a nice bonus.
a rushing touchdown against the Jets, where he had 3 carries, 46 yards, and a touchdown. He had the game against Tennessee, 8 carries for 95 yards. He is. They're going to have to throw the ball a lot today because I expect them to be behind.
For sure.
So I expect him to have 35 plus attempts. I do expect him to have like a touchdown or two. Like I expect Drake May to score 2 touchdowns today. Like one of them could be on the ground. I just don't want to start any of his receivers because I don't know who it's going to be.
Right.
And it could be Ramondre catching the touchdown pass as well because he is a decent receiver. I like Drake May over. Let's see, who would I start him over today?
Mahomes, Stroud. I mean, those
I
are
would.
your kinda like bottom of the.
I would rather.
starters.
I would rather start him than Stroud today, because I think that Stroud is going to be up in his game, and I think Mixon's going to dominate again. Mixon's having such an incredible
Oh,
season.
man, he's been great. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the biggest surprise to me of the season is that Joe Mixon ended up being
Amazing.
undervalued.
Yeah,
in
amazing.
his draft position. I thought he was one of those guys that was good. People were gonna lament having drafted because you get it to the end of the season and you're running somebody off the street.
Yeah, I am very sad to say I have 0 shares of Mixon.
Yeah, none. Me either. None. And I could have. He was one of those guys I could have picked up for like in Dynasty for like a second round draft pick in the offseason. But
So, all right.
yeah,
So we're all going to take Miami.
we're all taking Miami.
Yeah.
All right.
And next up, Vikings versus the Shy Bears. -3 on the Vikings. Over unders 39.5. -175 if you're betting on the Vikings. +145 if you're betting on the Bears. This is a divisional game, right?
Yes, sir.
So but even with that, it being a divisional game, I just don't see the Bears covering the spread.
What's the spread? I'm sorry.
-3, +3.
I like the Vikings here. I think Vikings are going to be getting it together. But the thing is Chicago is actually starting to get things together as well. I don't deny that. They
Under
do
new
have
management, their offense is under
Right?
new management.
Yeah.
So that's always an important
And their
thing
defense
to
has
take into
stayed
account.
good,
Like
so.
I made him. I dropped Roshan Johnson in a couple of dynasty
Mm-hmm.
leagues, like last week or 2 weeks ago, and now that looks like a really dumb move. But we'll see. Because it's not like DeAndre Swift isn't like missing time, and that was I heard all kinds of stuff about Roshan Johnson, but it's because he's like the goal line back. He's going to be the short yardage back, I think, and that's what people are excited about. So he's like a good dart throw in DFS today.
Okay. Tournament lineup.
I'm not doing it, but
Don't do that in cash.
I actually kind of like the Bears in this game.
Okay.
The Vikings haven't really been able to get it going recently. They haven't been playing very well
Where's it played at?
in Chicago, and the Bears should have won last week. They should have beat
the field goal
yes,
block was devastating.
right. They should have beat the Packers last week, and that was in Green Bay, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
I think it was.
But
Sorry,
that's all right. I mean,
internet's being really slow.
I'm trying to think. You can't really start many receiving options from Chicago right now. Dunze's been getting a little bit more of the looks. So, I mean, he's somebody I'm definitely watching for.
They were at home last week, actually.
Okay. But Dunze, I'm watching. But really,
I like Adunze a lot.
Do you want to start him
Yep.
this week?
Yep. If I am starting a Bears receiver right now, it's Odunze first.
I agree. Yeah, and that's why I
Over
was talking
DJ
about
Moore.
him. But even then, I don't have the confidence to be like, I am starting him this week. I'd be like, okay,
No, I'm starting him this
I
week.
might have to put
No,
him into my
absolutely.
lineup
No,
because of
I'm-
bye weeks, but
No,
man, that's
no,
not
no,
something
I
I'm
disagree.
looking to do.
I disagree. Over the last 4 weeks now, his target numbers are 6, 7, 6, 10. And 10 was last week with the new offensive coordinator. I'm going to ride that.
All right.
He was all like I'd said before last week that I thought he was coming for Keenan Allen's targets, and they had been mirroring each other in targets, and he had been producing more than Keenan Allen. So if I was going to start either of those guys, it was definitely going to be Odunze, and I think that he's taken over right now. I think he's going by the time we get to the end of the season, we're talking about Rome Odunze as like a top 12, 15 wide receiver for next year.
Yeah, and that was the hope at the beginning of the year. So,
It's happening. He is
yeah.
good. He's really
Like
good.
I want to see it one more time. Like this is
I
that's
feel
why
like
I'm
we've been
talking about him
seeing
as
it
the
all
number
year.
one. There were starting to see it.
flashes.
There's flashes.
There's been flashes,
I've been
but now it's
talking about him
happening.
since the beginning of the year. It's like the flashes, but But yeah, he might be getting a little bit more now in the new offense. But still, I'm going to take the Vikings. I think they're going to put things back on track here, and that Vikings defense is going to wreak a little havoc.
Yeah, six for 65 last week on 10 targets, and two weeks ago he was 5 for 104. And also their schedule is another one. He has Minnesota this week, and then at Detroit, at San Francisco, at Minnesota, Detroit, and Seattle to finish the season. So his schedule is really, really, really good. Yeah, start Roma Dunze.
So are you going Bears?
That.
Yes, he is.
I am going to take the Bears. I feel bad picking against the Vikings all the time, but I just don't like what they're doing on offense. I feel like they get lucky sometimes, and their defense is good. Their defense is definitely solid.
Really good.
But Caleb Williams is a dangerous dude.
He's trying to be
9 for 80 on the ground last week.
Oh, Williams was?
Yes.
Nice. That's a nice bonus.
Yeah, and that's I think one of the big things to watch going forward is he's been told to be more aggressive running the football, spend less time, and that's the second time that he's had 9 carries on the season, but spend less time trying to just like fit a ball into a tight window or wait for a guy to get open and just take what's available, and sometimes that's just a 6-yard gain. And so I think we're going to see more of him running.
So Chicago Bears fans, there is hope.
Yeah. There's definitely hope. I still don't like their head coach. I didn't like their offensive coordinator at all, but I like a lot of the personnel decisions that they've made, and I like the football players on that team. So yeah, let's go Bears. I get the lone wolf on the Bears.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Are we moving into DraftKings time?
Yep. The morning games are done, and now we have the afternoon games. So at that time, we are rolling into DraftKings.
All right. I've got mine up. I'll rush through it real quick here. The Arizona-Seattle game we haven't talked about yet, but I feel like there could be some points scored there. I'm going to go with Geno Smith and the DK Metcalf combo. I'm going to go with Kareem Hunt since he's got the backfield to himself again in a really good matchup. Brian Robinson has a wonderful matchup. I think he's going to score some touchdowns against Dallas. Amon-Ra St. Brown is where I spent up a little bit because, God, the guy is just too consistent. Cortland Sutton is just underpriced on the site, so hard to leave him out. My big value, well, not value, my big punt of the week is Schoonmaker, the Schoon Man in Dallas.
That's a good punt. That's a good punt. We didn't talk about him earlier, but he looked good, and
he's getting some targets, and for 2,500, which is the Stone Minute tight end, all he has to do is make a few catches, and you're very happy.
Absolutely.
In my flex, I managed to get Devon Achane in my flex, so I felt pretty good about that. But that left me with no money for my defense, so I had to go with almost the lowest with the Titans. But the Titans, that defense can do things. They're on the road. Like I say, don't feel good about that. That is definitely a punt. But to get Achane in my flex, it was worth it.
One thing we didn't mention while we were talking about that game, and it definitely affected my DraftKings decision, is there's no what is it? Snead. That's his name, right?
Tennessee, yeah.
The cornerback.
Yeah.
From that they got from Kansas City. Yeah, he will not be playing today. So I am going to play Jaden Daniels against the Cowboys at 7K.
That's funny.
He's still tough to stop, and he's still worth that money most weeks. I think. Let me see. For 7K, you're hoping for him to score 20 fantasy points, and he has failed to do that for 3 consecutive weeks. By the way,
yeah,
and only once in the last 5, after having done it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the first 6 weeks of the season. So I do expect him to get back on track today. I picked the Cowboys to win. I don't think it's going to be a low scoring game. I think it's going to be a high scoring game.
All right.
So Daniels at quarterback for 7K. My running backs are Jahmyr Gibbs at 7,300.
Nice.
And Bucky Irving at 5,300 against the Giants.
Okay.
Bucky Irving is their featured back on the ground. He is just getting more carries than Rachaad White game in, game out. Rachaad White is getting a few more targets than he is, but yeah, I expect.
And the more valuable targets.
Huh?
And the more valuable targets.
I don't-
Red zone targets tend to go towards.
Actually,
towards
the most rather than red zone or third down, the most valuable targets are actually first down targets.
Okay.
Just saying.
I was saying red zone.
Just saying.
Anyway.
And since he's the running back who carries the football more, he's on the field more on first down. Anyway, my receivers at 7,600 going against the Sneedless Titans. I've got Nico Collins. For $4,800, I think one of the steals of the weekend after Brock Purdy was announced to be out and it wasn't going to be Juwan Jennings for me anymore is Roma Dunze. Playing up against that Minnesota, I expect them to need to score. The 10 targets last week was huge. I think if you get 8 to 10 targets from Roma Dunze today, you're going to get a touchdown and 80+ yards. I think he's gonna have a big day. And then I've got Calvin Ridley at 5,700. Calvin Ridley has been going off recently. I think he had a poor game last weekend, but I expect him to bounce back today. And then at tight end for 3,400, I've got Jatavian Sanders. We talked about him earlier. I like him a lot. In my flex for 5,700, I also...
Sorry, how much was Sanders?
34.
Nice.
In my flex, I've got Kareem Hunt for 5,700. And then I was able to spend 3,200 on the Denver defense.
Ooh, spending up on the D.
Yeah, playing against the Vegas Raiders today.
Yeah. Good spend.
Who don't have either of their top running backs available. So it's Lauby.
Ray?
All right.
What do you got, buddy?
I have Geno Smith at 5,700. Kareem Hunt. Robinson Jr. from Washington. Jay Mayers, which I wasn't really happy about. I took him anyway. Ridley. C. Sutton from Denver. Travis Kelce. And Achan, was I think is my most expensive player of the week. And the Dolphins.
Yeah, we have a lot of crossover, Ray. We are definitely sharing a lot of the same lineup there. My tournament lineup, like I said, we just throw this one out there for fun. But my tournament lineup, I went out there. I'm definitely taking some chances here. Starting with Danny DeVito at quarterback.
Oh, boy, I knew you were going to do that.
4,000. 4,000. I mean, God, it is so cheap. He just doesn't have to do much. This is a tournament lineup, so I want him to 5x. That only means 20 points. That's 200 yards and 2 touchdowns.
So hold on. I want to talk about that. I'd like to talk about that because this is a strategy that you employ commonly. And it almost never works. It almost never works for you. And so while I agree that cheap players have a low a low barrier for points that they have to score, right, to have been playable. I think at the quarterback position you need points. Like you need your quarterback to score 25 plus points. I don't think it matters exactly how much. It's nice if you get the quarterback for 5K or 5,500, but what you really need is for that guy to score 25 points. You have I have not ever seen one of my lineups be successful where the quarterback didn't have a good day.
But that's what I'm saying.
There's so many points
good day
there.
for DeVito is a lower bar than it is for the others that you're spending up for.
But what I'm saying is at that particular position, it's not just Xing. It's about hitting a certain threshold of points.
I hear you.
And so I think you rather than just going, hey, this guy's 4K, I only need him to score 12 points. That's a horrible game from your quarterback. You're still not winning by doing that because it's so much harder to get the multiplier of points out of running backs and out of receivers. It's so much harder to hit 3x and above out of receivers. Quarterbacks, you generally just expect it. Like if you spend $7K on a quarterback, you're expecting to have, like, the reason you did that is because you think he's one of the guys that can score 30 plus points that day. And I think that you have to in order to be competitive, you have to have your quarterback score over 20 points. 25 really is ideal, but you really have to have over 20 points. So I don't agree with spending down for guys like Tommy DeVito unless I expect him to be able to hit that 20-point marker.
All right. I really
12's not enough out of the quarterback
That's
for me.
funny. I really hope this one goes off. But all right.
I hope he goes off too, but I hope he goes off for 25 points, not for 12. Because
for 20. For 20 is my goal for him. Yes.
Yeah.
5x. All right. James Conner and Joe Mixon are my running backs that I was able to afford because I went in that direction. I stayed away from Achane in this lineup, and so instead I pivoted with Tyreek Hill. So if the touchdowns happen to go that way, that will be nice. Stayed with DJ Metcalf because he's got such a great matchup today. Cortland Sutton is just too good of a bargain. Schoonmaker again helped me make some of these choices. And then I put Brock Bowers in my flex.
Nice.
I think he's going to have a nice day today.
How'd that call work out for you last week, Bowers over Kelsey?
That was good. Yeah. That was definitely a good one. And then I went with the Packers DST for my lineup.
Very nice. Very nice. That's a good one. That's a sneaky start today. Brandon Allen's terrible.
Yeah.
Brandon Allen is actual terrible. We're going to talk about that game in a minute. Okay.
Yeah, we're going to have to talk fast, so we're running out of time.
Mine, I've got Baker Mayfield at 6,100, so we're on opposite ends there. But I am stacking that game because in that game I've got Mayfield, I've got Tyrone Tracy at 6K, I've got Mike Evans at 7K, I've got Malik Neighbors at 7,400, and I have Bucky Irving at 5,300. My other running back is Kareem Hunt. I'm stacking him with the Chiefs defense against Carolina. I spent up on the defense in this tournament and was able to do that because I have Luke Schoonmaker at $2,500 at the tight end. And then lastly, I've got Marvin Harrison Jr. at 6,100 against Seattle.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's...
Yeah, I can see how a lot of points might get scored in that game, which we're about to talk about, I think.
We are about to talk about the Broncos and Raiders, I think. So it's Bo Nix first. Bo Nix.
And you ready?
Yep.
So next up, where am I? There we are. The Broncos versus the Raiders. Minus 5.5 on the Broncos. Over under is 41.5. The money line is minus 245 if you're betting on the Broncos. And we have a question here. I'll read it out in a second.
Oh, okay.
And plus 200 if you're betting on the Raiders. And the question is from Blur Pay, Aaron Jones or Neighbors?
Neighbors.
Aaron Jones or Neighbors in a flex spot, huh? First of all, nice choices.
Yeah.
Be proud of that.
A little worried about Aaron Jones right now.
Yeah,
that's the only reason. Like if you had asked me that question 4 weeks ago, it would have been completely the opposite. It would have been Aaron Jones, no question. But after the injury, and they've been giving Cam Akers.
They have been testing him out.
They've been giving him more work than I like to see. That's for sure.
Yeah. I like Neighbors for the safer play there. He's definitely going to get peppered with targets.
Whether
they're good or not, we'll see.
Yeah,
but he will get peppered. But thank you for the question. Always welcome, man. We're always here for you.
So that was Raiders and Broncos. We're talking
Raiders and Broncos. Raiders have packed it in. It just really is how it feels, and Broncos are coming on strong. I mean, it's.
I feel good about that one because I've been talking about how I like the Broncos for a while, and I was a big Bo Nix fan in the offseason, the draft process, and everything that I liked about him has shown up so far.
He's been proving it for sure.
His ability to throw on the run. He was the absolute best quarterback throwing on the run out of this class. And I don't know if the actual completion percentage bears that out. I'm talking about just the eye test. Like this guy can throw and can throw to different levels of the field while running with the football in either direction too is the other thing. He can roll to the left or the right. And I didn't expect him to go off this early in his career. I thought it would take a little more time, especially mostly considering he was an older quarterback. That was just my expectation, was that like typically these guys that get drafted at age like 21 or 22, that have done what he's done, they're these like phenoms that you kind of expect to just be able to like, produce. I thought he was going to take a little more time, a la like Spencer Rattler, who I still love. But they need to upgrade the weapons on this team. They really,
for Denver, yeah,
they really do. Like,
I don't think
why they traded Jerry Jeudy is like, you're looking at this team right now. It's like, man, how good would they be if they had Jerry Jeudy?
that felt like a locker room thing. Like
Maybe
he's not going to,
maybe-
or
yeah,
maybe
maybe-
it was a contract thing. I don't know which.
And
but,
either of those things are
that was
problem-
definitely a business
And he's
decision.
also, he was drafted by the last regime, and he was a decision from the last regime. And like we saw how Sean Payton handled the Russell Wilson situation, which it wasn't his deal necessarily. And then the same thing, with a guy that he didn't draft, and just pushed him out the door. So I don't think they have anybody right now on their roster that's as talented as Jerry Jeudy, though. That's my only issue with it. Is like,
all right, but what do we do with them now? I mean, the Raiders. There's anybody to start?
well, I think Jacoby Myers is a fine start.
Kobe Myers,
Brock Bowers is an obvious start,
right?
And then that's it. You can check out after that.
Check out after that.
Like
and
I
Denver
guess-
doesn't have a whole lot of options either. I mean, we're
Dylan
talking-
Laube is a running back that fantasy heads were interested in the draft process. People were watching to see what kind of draft capital he got, and I think he's a 4th or 5th round pick. So he's right in that like could be relevant window. And the Raiders running backs have been awful this year, just awful.
Understatement.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And so I don't think he needs to be overly impressive to earn a sizable role in the offense right now. So this is an opportunity.
Yeah.
He's somebody that people should be watching out for. Like it's that time of year, and it's been a good year for running backs in terms of health. But like right now, Aaron Jones has hit a little bit of a wall. Derrick Henry has a rough schedule for the rest of the way. This is a good time to kick out the middling guys on your roster that aren't helping you win, and take some shots on some guys who can have some opportunity going into the end of the season, so that you're scoring fantasy points every week. And so he's a guy to watch. And then I feel I got to say this. I feel so smart. One of the smartest things I've said all season was not so fast on Audric Estime. When everybody went after Audric Estime, and I was like, guys, I don't like. We've seen this from Sean Payton, where he just you think you've got a starting running back, and then the game happens. Your running back's not even injured, and he doesn't touch the ball but 3 times the entire game, and the other guy, scores 2 touchdowns and goes off, and nobody started him that week. That is Sean Payton with running backs. So,
yay.
yeah. I think what it is that if you expect them to be pounding the football, I think what it seems like he's trying to do is use Javonte as more of his Alvin Kamara, and use Audric Estime as his Mark Ingram.
Okay.
So if you expect him to be running the football a lot, I think you expect Estime to have more touches. If you expect them to need to be scoring points, I think you expect Javonte Williams to be more effective.
So Blurpy says that he also has Mike Evans. It's a 2-flex league.
Go, buddy. Go, Mike Evans. Oh, he was, yeah. I think I named him in my my tournament lineup. Yes.
Yes, you did.
Yes, it's Mike Evans season for sure. He's I wish I'd tried harder to trade for him. I especially in my half PPR dynasty league, but I have Godwin already, so I don't want to.
Right, you can't double dip too much.
Right, but who knows where they're going to be next year? But
all right, well, give me Denver.
I think Mike Evans is a top 10 wide receiver rest of the way. Baker Mayfield's been playing out of his mind, so it's okay. We'll be late. It's okay.
All right, got a few more games to talk about, I think.
Did you guys all go Broncos?
Yeah, well, or you went Broncos, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So then the next afternoon game is the 49ers versus the Green Bay Packers, and the 49ers are plus 6.5. The over-under is 44.5, plus 235 if you're betting on the Niners, minus 290 if you're betting on the Packers.
Yeah, and the big news here is that there's no Brock Purdy. So without Brock Purdy, you have to lower all your expectations on the San Francisco side. All your auto starts. I mean, McCaffrey's still an auto start, of course, but past that, you're going to have some trouble.
Yeah, it definitely affected Jennings.
Yeah,
because if you look
a lot.
So Brandon Allen is 32 years old and has, I think, 6 career starts, and none of them since the end of the 2021 season. And I went looking through. I went on a little bit of a deep dive here because I was gonna, Purdy is a very startable quarterback, and has exactly 1 game in his career where he scored 20 plus points. However, that was a 27-point performance against a division rival on fantasy championship weekend. So, like, if you were somebody who had happened to have to start him, he might have saved your championship that year. So there's definitely somebody who's listening. They're like, Brandon Allen won my 2021 championship, bro. What are you talking about? Like, that's definitely possible. However, that is the only highlight in his fantasy football career.
Gotcha.
So I am a believer in Kyle Shanahan. Like, we've seen good stuff out of Dobbs. So there's got to be a reason that he's starting Brandon Allen over Dobbs, which gives me a little bit of comfort. Because if he was starting Josh Dobbs, I don't think we'd be downgrading Juwan Jennings, right?
No, I still would be.
Not to the point that I am right now, though. Not like he probably like Juwan Jennings for $5,600 probably still would have been in your DraftKings lineup if you're starting Josh Dobbs.
Definitely not.
I think so.
No. As soon as Brock Purdy's out, Jennings just kind of goes off my radar right away.
So the guy that I think is going to get the bonus from this, though, is actually Debo. Because
he's going to get more touches behind the line and whatnot.
I think that's what I expect to happen. Is the ball to be in Debo Samuel's hands today?
He'll get more touches, but we'll see if they're valuable or not.
But it's not just Purdy they're missing. They're also missing Nick Bosa.
Yes.
On the other side, and that was the difference in the game last week. Was the 49ers were kind of dominating that game, and then Bosa they tripped themselves as they got into scoring position and failed to score. And so the game was still in the balance. And then Bosa gets hurt and the Seahawks go right down the field twice.
Slight difference.
Yeah. Once to tie the game up and then the next time to win the game. And so I'm worried. I am worried. The reason I'm picking the 49ers today.
Oh, wow.
Noah Gray just scored a touchdown.
Is because Noah Gray, that's funny. Hey, Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Is because I think I think the 49ers are a better team. And they need to win.
All right. I'm not that brave. I'll take the Packers. Thank you very much.
Ken, you're going San Francisco?
I am going San Francisco.
Okay.
I think they will find a way to win today.
All right.
CMC 3 touchdowns.
Voting my heart on that one, going for Packers.
Kind of hope for it. I do have CMC in my guillotine.
Next up, the Arizona Cardinals versus the Seattle Seahawks. The Cardinals are -1. Over-under is 46.5. -118 if you're betting on the Cardinals. -102 if you're betting on the Seahawks.
And this is going to be a fun game here.
So bad, and I think they need it too.
Man. I am really surprised by the Cardinals. Like
how well they're doing? Yeah.
After the Commanders, the Cardinals have to be the surprise of the season, right?
A lot of people would throw the Steelers in there too.
I'm not surprised by the Steelers.
I'm not either, but that's not how people were guessing before the season started. You know what I mean? So
I think there's still a long way to go. in the season. Like you guys are just getting into the teeth of your schedule.
This is true.
Yeah, like the first, and you know what's weird? Like I looked across the league. Sorry, quick aside. Never do this. The league had kind of turned the schedule into like a copy of what they do in college football, where all the teams played their non-conference and non-division games in the first 8 to 10 weeks of the season, and now everybody has division games.
Right. Yeah, and they've been doing that on purpose for a few years now.
Finishing the season that way, like the last 2 weeks, that makes sense. The last 2 weeks, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to see the NFL go to a point where it's like, okay, we're in division play now.
Right.
I don't want that.
I hear you.
I do not want that.
Because it's expanded from the last, 2 to 4 weeks to now it's the last 6 to 8. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you look at the schedules and all these teams are playing against division opponent, division opponent, division opponent, division opponent, division opponent. And it's crazy. Like I think, who is it? Who were we just talking about earlier? Was it the Bears? I think the Bears have all of their division games. They played their first one last week.
Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of that going on right now. But I mean, it makes for some excitement at the end of the season, though.
Like I said, when you have 4 teams in the division, right? Doing like the last 3 weeks in a row or the last 2 weeks in a row, that makes a lot of sense. But like I said, I don't want it to where like both of your division matchups are in the last 6 weeks of the season. I don't like that.
One in the beginning of the year, one at the end.
I like one. I would rather do it how we do it in fantasy football, where it's like you start with your division and you end with your division. I would rather see that.
No, I like it, but they have so many concerns now with how they make their schedule and what part of the world we're in and everything else. I give them a little leeway, but
there are a lot of things. But hey, they've got AI doing it now.
Yeah,
it's not some guy staying up for 36 hours with a whiteboard anymore.
But as far as this game goes, weather could be a factor. It's likely going to rain. Yeah, it's likely going to rain
in Seattle.
In Seattle. But I don't see any wind projected, though, so that means good things. That usually doesn't affect the stats too much. Might be a little bit of a sloppy game, might be an extra turnover or two here and there. But as far as the fantasy stats go, we should be pretty happy.
Important thing to know, Arizona's been good against number ones.
Okay.
I would rather start JSN than DK today.
Well, now you tell me after my lineups are locked in.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks.
I didn't know you had that option. Was that like a
no in the
guillotine?
DraftKings?
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
Because I took Metcalf in both, but
did you?
I
missed. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I missed that. I would have told you not to do that.
I wouldn't have listened anyway.
No, you wouldn't have. But I still would have said
it. I think Arizona gets this one out somehow. This is a close one. This is one of those coin flip games to me.
I agree with that.
But just I like the way that Arizona's been playing, and Seattle seems like they're just, I don't know, they're still figuring things out.
Liget. Like a 40-yard catch right. What's the flag? Those Kansas City refs again, dude.
No, maybe he doesn't look happy.
That looked like an illegal contact. That looked like a defensive penalty. Defense number 95, that penalty is declined. Illegal contact. Defense number 23, that penalty is also declined. First down.
2 penalties and they still got the first down, or they still got the play.
Liget, I'm telling you, dude, I like this kid a lot. He's a beast.
All right. Well, do we want to move on to the next
He's going to be
game,
so good.
Well, Ken, did you go Cardinals or Seahawks?
I'm going to go Cardinals. I like the Cardinals to win this game. That was the hardest one for me to pick this week.
Yeah, that one's tough.
Next up is the Eagles versus the Rams. Eagles -3, over-under is 48.5. Take the under. -155 if you're betting on the Eagles, +130 if you're betting on the Rams.
I heard that. The Rams fan says take the under.
Yeah, I think so.
Which concerns me a little bit, but I am going to take Philly here, but I kind of expect a good game. I expect some offense. I know that Philly defense has been incredible lately, but I think the Rams have some weapons to score. I don't know. I expect a good game. I expect a good fantasy game. I think Philly will pull it out. But this one's going to be close and it's going to be fun. And I think there's going to be a lot of points scored.
I'm taking the Rams.
You are?
Of course I am. The Eagles are on the other side.
Very nice. Very nice. Wait, so I get to lone wolf the Eagles here?
Bezzy's with you.
Oh, fair enough. But
So with that, I mean, the Rams got the weapons, but they haven't proven they're using them to score a lot of points. So that's why I'm like, take the under.
I can see.
The Rams defense is holding, so I don't see Eagles scoring a whole ton.
The way that I see it is that at some point you guys are going to break through.
Yeah, and I don't know if the Eagles is going to be the game.
Stafford has been, and I feel like it was kind of last week. Like Stafford went off for 4 touchdowns last week, right?
Yeah, but it was the Patriots, and I was kind of like in
but
my
you
head.
haven't been able to do it against anybody.
Yeah.
So like this is a really big test for the Eagles. They have been shutting down some mediocre wide receiver cores. Mm-hmm. They struggled a little bit last week. Had some penalties called against them. It was one of those situations where I kind of felt like Dan Quinn must have seen something on film because they went after Cooper DeJean, and he had multiple penalties called on him throughout the night. So, but Quinyon Mitchell's just been shutting it down on the other side. But they are rookie cornerbacks, and they're going up against Sean McVay, who's one of the best play callers in the league. You've got Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, who are 2 of the top 10, 12 receivers in the league. This is a big test, and I think the Rams are going to get it done. I just do.
I kind of hope they will.
Because the one thing that the Eagles haven't been very good at lately is they haven't been pressuring the quarterback. There hasn't they've been stopping the run. They've been great against the run, and their cornerbacks have played really well. But like I said, they have had the good fortune of playing against some softer passing attacks recently.
Kind of sounds like you're favoring the over here too.
Because I don't think that the Rams are going to be able to hold up against the Eagles' offense.
Onslaught.
I think they're going to have to score points. It's just I do think the Rams are going to be able to score points. I think this game is going to come down to the end too. I think it's going to be a really good game.
Cool. I'm looking forward to watching.
I'm excited for this game.
Yeah. Cool beans.
Yeah. Yes, I will definitely be sitting down on my couch and focusing on this game tonight when it happens.
Okay.
And this next one, dude. This is like the best Monday night game we've had so far, I think.
And that would be the Ravens versus the Chargers. Ravens are -2.5. Over under is 50.5. -142 is on the Ravens and +120 on the Chargers.
The Harbowl. Yeah, this is going to be fun.
Hey, real quick, Ray, there's 2 other games on Thursday. There's 3 games on Thanksgiving.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll have to pick those. But sucks having. I always hate having to pick a week beforehand. But anyway, this game, this one's going to be fun. I mean, we've got 2 tough defenses. Ladd McConkey was a bit of a concern this week. It does look like he's going to play, but he is still questionable, so watch out.
He came back in the game and played well, made a big play.
I'm rolling the dice in one of my leagues, and I've got him in there with no backups, in case he does get ruled out. So I am fairly confident, but I'm just enough to be nervous. But I do think he's going to be in there.
You got to play huge.
Got to play huge.
You got to. Yeah. He's like right now. I think I do believe that the efficiency is going to get better with his targets as time goes on, and like he just continues to earn the targets, which is the biggest thing. That really is the most for a young receiver. That is the most important thing is being on the field, number 1, and number 2, earning targets, and he does both of those things. So I think that and he from time to time he makes big plays. He's their big play guy. So I think he's really kind of become their Mike Williams replacement.
Yes, I know. I agree.
And he's an excellent boom bust flex play right now.
Just like Mike Williams used to be.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly like that, except for I think the ceiling is higher. I think he has more speed and ball skill. I shouldn't say ball skills. They have similar like 50-50 skills, but he has more ability to win in the middle of the field and run away from you when he has the ball in his hand. Whereas Mike Williams is really just kind of like a big possession guy.
For sure.
So I think there's a really high ceiling for Quentin Johnston. Honestly, I think in fantasy I like McConkey better because I see him as being like his Wes Welker, his Julian Edelman, that type of guy. Cooper Kupp, he's just a lot smaller than Cooper Kupp, so I don't like that comparison. But I think you start both of them here. Not as excited about Chargers running backs. First, like Dobbins has been less efficient lately. Second, the Ravens' rush defense has been excellent. You attack them through the air. And third, he has had his workload cut into since Gus Edwards came back 2 weeks ago. So I just
not a ton, but
another
every bit
player
counts,
that I hope you got to sell high on. And
so who do we pick?
Yeah, you got to. They've.
This is a 50-50 ball for me, and I hate the Ravens. I love the Chargers, so I'm going to go with my heart on this one. With the coin flip, I'm going to go with the Chargers.
And I feel so. I don't hate the Ravens, obviously, because they're not my division. Although I don't necessarily like them. I like the Chargers. I like what's going on.
I do too.
I've been a Jim Harbaugh fan since he was the Colts quarterback back in the 90s. Remember that game he stole from Pittsburgh?
I do not.
Remember that playoff game? No, you don't remember the Hail Mary? No.
What year are we talking?
94, I think.
Oh yeah. See, that's beyond my memory capacity, brother.
Oh, sorry, buddy. It lives rent free up here, buddy.
I can see.
So someone would have to. I'm pretty sure it was 1994 wild card game in Pittsburgh. Hail Mary. I'm pretty sure. But anyway, Justin Herbert and I've had this thought a couple of times over the last couple of weeks. Now that the Chargers' offense has become more pass friendly and Herbert's starting to look like Herbert again. Remember I told you about a month ago that you should, if I were you, I'd be trying to trade CJ Stroud in Dynasty. And you're like, I don't know. Where are you at now?
No, I still feel good about Stroud.
You still rather have Stroud long term than
Herbert?
Than Herbert?
It's close, but yeah.
That not for me.
Yeah.
I'd rather have Herbert.
Yeah. I know. I like I say it's close. I can see why you're saying that. I understand the quality of Herbert, and he's a little bit more proven.
I think the ceiling's just higher.
I don't know about that. We'll see. Stroud is still coming
Stroud
along.
is an excellent.
No,
I think.
God dang it!
I think Stroud is
Brian
a great quarterback.
Robinson Jr. headed to the locker room.
Yay!
Well, I had the same guy, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
I didn't start him anywhere. I don't have any shares of Brian Robinson. I did try and trade for him a couple spots while he was injured in Dynasty, but I've been on Eckler. I've thought Eckler has looked better.
Yeah.
So yeah, works for me.
Boo.
I've been trying to sell him in the Iron Throne, and people are just like not interested in buying Austin Eckler, and like. He was one of my calls this season because of the offensive coordinator change. They were getting, not only were they getting Kingsbury, but they brought in Anthony Lynn, who was his offensive coordinator in Los Angeles and in San Diego when they were using Austin Eckler. And let's see, he's RB24.
No, he's
on the season.
Been good. Yeah.
So
he's looked good on the field.
He has. He's looked good, and he's coming off like against Philadelphia. He's coming off a game where he scored 17.5 PPR points, and he has only been you've only been upset. Let's use the shout out fantasy footballers. Their bust metric is 7 points, right? One time he's been under that number, and it was 4 points. So he didn't even goose you, right. But one time. Every other game, he had one game at 7.8. Every other game is over 10 PPR fantasy points, and all but one are over 11. So and with their schedule coming up, they get after their bye, their playoff schedule is New Orleans, Philadelphia, who you might have been worried about before they played them the first time, and then Atlanta in the championship. So in your playoffs, you get to play against New Orleans and Atlanta with a proficient pass catching running back. That to me, that's an asset for somebody who's trying to win.
Definitely an asset, and like I say, with
Like
Brian
if I was
Robinson
trying to
out,
win,
he's
I'd be
gonna
trying to
looking
get
good.
him, huh?
Yeah, and with Robinson out, he's gonna be looking good.
Yeah, definitely. So that could have been really good for me. I'm gonna get a second rounder for him. I'm telling you.
So did we finish picking that game?
I picked the Chargers. Sorry.
Oh
That's
wow,
what
we
he
all
was
went
missing.
Chargers on that one.
Well, you went Chargers too. Wow.
Except for Bezzy. Bezzy went Ravens. He's lone.
Well, I was on the Chargers.
Bezzy's
last
lone
week.
wolfing.
I
Remember, that was one of my lone wolves. Was the Chargers last week. So
and got it. Yeah.
Yeah, that was so close too. I mean, what poor Burrow.
it wasn't. Wasn't it like 10 points spread?
No, they won. They won on a.
It was
The game was
3,
tied,
3.5, something like
and
that.
Dobbins broke off a 25-yard run.
He was saying the point spread, but he
Yeah.
was saying the point spread.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it was 6 points then.
I don't
No,
remember
I
it being that big.
I don't think it was.
I don't
it
think
was,
so. I think
it was around the
close.
3-ish range.
I'm pretty sure it was like 2.5 or 3. That was one of those 50-50 games last week.
It was what? Cincinnati versus Chargers, right?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Alrighty.
34-7. 27.
No, that was the final score.
Final score. We were
We're talking about
talking
the spread.
spread,
and
right?
the final,
Oh, no, yeah, I'm talking
and the
about final
game was
score.
tied.
Oh, I thought
the
you were
game.
talking
Well, the game
spread.
was that's a touchdown. The
Yeah.
game was tied, and
And an extra point.
PAT technically point after touchdown. If we're gonna be all technical about it.
Well, no. What I'm saying is there was still time on the clock. Otherwise, they wouldn't have kicked it.
There was only like 20 some seconds left.
So
Burrow got the ball back and got like 3 plays, I think.
Something like that.
Yeah, it was one of those situations where the Chargers were going. So the Chargers.
what was the spread?
So the Chargers.
That's what you're saying. It's in the 3s. It was pretty close.
The Chargers were going to kick a game-winning field goal. They were running down the clock. They had gone for it on 4th down to keep the ball so that they could continue to run the clock down all the way. And their plan was to kick a field goal and end the game. And then Dobbins broke loose from like the 25-yard line and scored. And I actually thought he was going to slide. I thought he was going to go down
Probably should
at
have,
like
yeah.
the 2. And I actually thought it was kind of a mistake
It was.
that he didn't. And they left like 20 some seconds on the clock. But no, games don't really get closer than that.
I think there's been a lot of missed field goals to leave it in the hands of the field goal guy, right? Because if he would have slid, then he would have kicked the field goal, correct? to
From
win the game,
very
to-
close,
to
sure,
kill the
Sure,
clock.
but the thing is,
all
is
that
that-
stuff.
but
Yeah.
you reduce so the thing is the only way that you lose in that scenario is if they block it and return it for the 2 points. That's the only way. Like otherwise, so if you
Otherwise, it goes to a tie, right?
and you go to overtime
yeah.
And then
and you get another
got that
and
mess,
you
too.
get another chance.
And you think all of that is a better gamble than just scoring and leaving 20 seconds on the clock?
Yeah.
I think in this
Oh yeah,
particular
especially now,
one,
like the way that the league is now. Yes, like I mean, when I getting asked that question, the first thing that comes to mind is Josh Allen versus the Chiefs.
So let me ask you this: if they
A couple years
score,
ago in the playoffs.
if they score a touchdown when the clock ends, do they get the PAT attempt?
Yes.
They do,
Yes,
even if
they
the
do.
even if the
Yeah,
clock's
even if
over.
they-
have-
even if there's zero on the clock, they
So
still
one,
get it.
thank you for asking that because
Yeah.
it gives me an opportunity to talk about like if you're familiar with the Matthew Berry book Fantasy Life.
No.
It's a compilation of all kinds of awesome like fantasy stories, bad beats, and stuff like that. And one of the best ones in the book is this guy lost his championship on. So it was a Week 16 game. Buffalo was, I think, at home to New England. There was a terrible call, pass interference call on the Bills. So New England got an extra play. And this is the last play of the game. So New England got an untimed down. They score the touchdown to take, and the game. So the game's over. They take the lead. The Bills walk off the field and don't participate in the PAT. So instead of kicking the PAT, Adam Vinatieri runs in a 2-point conversion, and the guy loses his championship by 1.
Because he didn't kick the PAT.
That's fucking funny, dude.
And actually, I think it was less than 1. I think it was
Right.
less.
It would have had to been less than one.
I think it was less than 1 point.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. So So yes,
fantasy
yes,
football.
the play does happen, and yes, you hope that your defense shows up to
try.
Oh man, fantasy football is great.
So Thursday's coming. I have no betting stats on Thursday, and DraftKings didn't even show the Thanksgiving games. So we have Bears and Lions for our first one.
And then there's also Cowboys.
Yeah, I got them right here.
Okay, you have them. I see them. Sorry, I didn't see them at first.
Give me the Lions.
Yes, we'll take Lions at home. We won't get all heavy into fantasy stuff.
We've talked about these guys already.
Yeah, we're eating into your guys' football time, our football time too.
Right.
And then Giants and Cowboys.
Let's see.
Wow.
That depends. Now, if the Cowboys sign Daniel Jones and start him on,
I'll actually take the Cowboys there.
yeah, I'm gonna take the Cowboys at home. The Cowboys to win twice before we come back to see you guys.
What a stinker of a football game for Thanksgiving. Jeez.
We've been watching the Lions for 67 years or something like that, and now they're good. But how many years has it been like, oh, we can just worry about making Thanksgiving dinner while that game's on in the background, you know? And then the last game is Miami and Green Bay.
Yeah.
Is it at Green Bay?
I don't know.
That's going to determine who I pick. If it's in Green Bay,
yeah, I wish I knew how Miami performed this week, but Miami, Green Bay, man, that is tough. Expect Miami to win. Expect Green Bay to win. Where is it? Where is it?
oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I thought that's what you were looking up.
I was, and I got distracted. It happens. It's at Green Bay. I'll pick the Packers.
Oh, yeah, that makes it hard. Okay, Packers.
Yeah, I think I would have picked the Packers either way. All right.
So the thing about the Packers, and the reason I'm picking the 49ers today, is that they're just Jordan Love gives up the ball too much. They're just a little too inconsistent for me. They should have lost last week to the Bears, you know. Yeah. So, could they win today? Could they win by 10 today? They could. They could do that. They are talented enough to do that. I just haven't seen it from their team this year. Yeah. Like they're just so inconsistent, and the 49ers are desperate.
Both those things are true.
All right. With that, I guess we'll see you guys all next week for a lighter load, right? Since there's 3 Thursday night games.
There will be many less games.
Yep. Happy football, everybody.
And
happy Thanksgiving.
See you guys all later.